Okay, so I'd like to begin giving a roadmap. I'm going to introduce the problem that exists in the world today and explain my plan to solve it. Inherency. Existing police training reinforces us versus them mentality that encourages police misconduct. Brooks, 2020. Harm. Police violence is an epidemic and Black people are disproportionately impacted. Black Lives Matter, 19. Plan. The United States federal government should reinforce policing by enacting sections 361 and 364 of the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act of 2020. This will require all police officers to receive racial profiling and implicit bias training and restrict police use of deadly force. Solvency. Police reform through implicit bias training works to reduce bias, leading to reduced racial profiling and deadly use of force. Spencer, 2016.
How will your plan reduce police violence?
My plan will reduce police violence by helping police understand the biases and training them on when and how to use force will make them more prepared for different situations, and then this will reduce violence.
In the roadmap and intro, I'm going to be explaining why the affirmative plan won't work and introduce a counterplan to better solve the affirmative's problems. Solvency. White police officers are more likely to use force and guns in minority neighborhoods. The affirmative does not increase the police diversity. Sloan, 2020. The police unions and contracts prevent meaningful policing reforms and they are too strong. Check the police, 2020. Now here is the counterplan, defund the police. The CP's counterplan, the United States federal government should reinvest the police budget increase into our communities instead related to services such as healthcare, education, and affordable housing. Our counterplan will solve the affirmative's harms better than the affirmative's plan. Defunding the police means allocating funds from the police to community services like the education and affordable housing from the McNair Daily News 2020.
How would your counterplan reduce police violence?
Our counterplan would take police out of a lot of situations where there isn't a high risk to the public. If someone is having a mental health crisis, for example, the police might not get to call it at all.
I'm going to respond to the negative attacks in response to their counterplan. Although the affirmative plan doesn't call for more racial diversity, we agree that diversity is important and believe that it helps enhance training. Police unions have a lot to empower, but there are ways to make effective changes. We should do a permutation. We must do the plan and the counterplan. Changing the entire system is the best way to improve policing and solve for the harms.
How would the perm work?
We think we could invest more in police training, but also defund the police overall by spending less money on other parts in the police budget.
The negative now has 2 speeches in a row. I will focus on explaining why the affirmative plan will fail. Diversity of solvency. Diversity is an important issue that the affirmative can't solve. You can't choose to simply add it to your plan now. Police unions oppose holding police officers accountable for misconduct. This is Fisk and Richardson, 2017.
How would unions react to defunding the police?
Maybe not well, but defunding the police is a better solution to police violence.
My partner focused on why the affirmative plan would fail. I'm going to be focusing on my team's counterplan. The counterplan reduces the needs for retraining by taking police out of the low-risk situations and reducing the potential for police violence. The counterplan also takes power from the police unions and reduces the impact of low police diversity. Permit fails, calls for reform, training, and procedural justice gets in the way of defunding the police. Vertail 2020. We need to do just the counterplan itself.
I will respond to both negative speeches, extending my team's argument from earlier in the debate. We believe diversity is important, but we don't believe either team substantially changes diversity, so you cannot vote on this issue. If unions are faced with the choice of supporting retraining police officers or defunding the police, they will definitely favor in retraining police. So the union's argument is a stronger point for the affirmative. The counterplan may provide other ways that police violence can be reduced, but there is no reason why we can't retrain police and defund the police if we need to.
I'm going to explain why my team's arguments are stronger and why you should vote for the negative. We believe that the best way to reduce police violence is to take police out of low-risk situations. The affirmative changes very little about interactions between public and the police. Our counterplan reduces risk of police violence and reinvests in communities to help reduce crime. Any attempt to retrain police will get in the way of attempts to defund the police. So you must vote for the counterplan alone. Vote for the negative team.
While the counterplan will help reduce violence, it would be much more successful if combined with effective training on bias and restrictions on the use of force. Although the counterplan is helpful, the negative has not proven why it is a reason that the affirmative plan would not work. They have only offered additional support, not shown why our plan would fail. So if you must vote for the affirmative team.
Thanks again for joining us for this judge training video, and good luck with your rounds.